hello, hello, hello.
Oh, hello, hello, hello.
I feel like we
Ru.
either slip into a RuPaul or an Annalise. It's like, hi, Mother, hi.
Hi, mother, hi. Hello, hello, hello. Brain
Do you
rot.
know what? Everyone has seen this episode title, and we're going to get into the episode in a little bit, but we really missed a trick not doing Martha's Torchwood episode this week.
We did. I wonder if anyone might confuse this and think this is a Series 5 finale. I'm sorry, it isn't. No weddings of Amy Pond here.
No weddings of Amy Pond here. It's purely alien pregnancies, Torchwood silliness, cunty women, and fun and frivolity over at Wholala.
It's Welsh on Welsh on Welsh action. Oh, sure.
It is. Well, speaking of Welsh on Welsh, how are you, my darling?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm not. I'm bloody warm. I'm cooking.
Do you know what? I had such a throwback memory. So last year about this time, I was doing a job in Folkestone. I was living in Folkestone in Kent for like 3 months. And I remember so vividly recording the Pride special that we did where we talk about like queer characters in the Whoniverse. And we just moaned for like 5 minutes about how all our fans were off and we were roasting. And the summer came late this year and I'm now at that spot again. And we've had to turn all our fans off to record. And I'm like, oh, it's hot. Oh,
it's the worst. My living room, do you know how hot it got today in there and stayed hot after it cooled down outside? It's been at 32 degrees in my living room.
We're back in Barbados. Bloody hell.
It's like actually revolting. I'm excited to move flat soon just so I won't have a living room that gets direct sunlight for about 6 hours.
I do love your flat and I love the gorgeous view of the undisclosed location that you get. However, it's bloody hot in there.
It's bloody hot in there. It's too hot. It's too hot.
It's too hot, darling.
Too warm.
No. That's exciting though, looking at a new flat.
It's very exciting. It's all coming together. It's all coming together, I hope.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I'm not stressed by it yet. Come back in.
I go
September.
through phases every 3 months where I'm just like, let me look on Zoopla. Let me look on Nextdoor. Let me look and see what's about. And I realise my budget and I realise what's available. And I go, you know what?
It's a depressing game to play. My favourite game to play is compare Manchester and London property. Where
no, that would be way too depressing.
That's really depressing.
Well, speaking of the war between Manchester and London, we've got to talk about little Talkie Who news. The war between land and sea, honey, has been officially announced.
What a segue. Well done. Yes, officially announced. We were
talking about this last week. Do you remember?
It was very like, what? No, I didn't know that. What? No, I didn't know that.
No.
Yeah, were you shocked by this news, Sam?
No, I wasn't. I don't feel bad saying that. Last week, I was saying something on the pod and we had to edit it out because I actually felt like we couldn't talk about it. But I don't feel bad saying this anymore. I interviewed to be working on the Land Between War and Sea. No, that's completely wrong. The War Between Land and Sea. And it got between me and one other person. And I lost out to one other person. I was quite far in the interview process. So I nearly, do you know what? What was actually scary about that is...
You were ready as well. You were ready to like, I'm going to move to Wales.
I was getting my ducks in a row. And what's scary about that is obviously they hadn't officially told me anything because obviously I didn't get the job. But Wholala would have been in jeopardy. I don't think you can work on the show and do a fan project like this.
No.
So Wholala was a little to the audience's ears. Wholala was in jeopardy
it was.
a few months ago.
We were like, we're going to have to take new pictures, so we're going to have to get a new co-host, or we shut the whole operation down.
Well, look, I'm very glad to not be on the show because I actually would much rather, I think, enjoy this as a viewer. I think Doctor Who, if you love pizza, never work in a pizzeria, and I love Doctor Who, so I'm very, very excited to watch this as a viewer. So the biggest gag, I think, was that they announced that the two leads of the series would be Russell Tovey and Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who have been on a multitude of platforms since they've been on Doctor Who, but most notably in the Who fandom, were recurring characters, each of them recurring characters in Doctor Who already.
Yes, and I think, have they both been... Gugu's been in... She's been in Loki.
She was in The Morning Show.
And in The Morning Show. Russell Tovey's been in lots else. Years and Years is the latest Russell thing I can think of that he's been in.
He was in the movie Pride. He was in Being Human. He's been in... He's in a lot of gay stuff, which I love. Love that. I heard a rumour that, and this is just speculation more so than a rumour, that I think Russell had said that they want to like humanise almost, I'm not necessarily saying in design, but they want to humanise the Sea Devils, and the whole story is about how the humans have ravaged the sea and we've, put all our waste and we're ruining the sea, and the Sea Devils come up to wage war with us because we're destroying the oceans. And the rumor is that maybe they're not coming back as human characters because Russell has said they're not playing Martha's sister, who, by the way, we manifested that Tish was going to be in this episode.
I know.
We really did. He said they're not playing the same characters they've originally played. They're new characters. People are saying they might be in prosthetics and they might be playing Sea Devils.
Oh.
I hope not, because I actually really like the Sea Devil design they went with in Legend of the Sea Devils.
Yes, but that design allows very little of the actor, apart from the voice, to come through. Like, you know, The Mandalorian, very little of that is Pedro Pascal. Yeah. It's mostly his voice, and very little of it is his body.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know. I'm excited to see. Was I disappointed that Miss Martha Jones wasn't in it? Yes, I was. Was I hoping then when Letitia Jones was announced, was I hoping it would be her? Yes, I was. Was I disappointed to hear that it wasn't her? Yes, I was. But hey, I'm excited. I saw someone tweet, which segues quite nicely into what we're talking about today. People were like, this will never work. They've already been recurring characters in Doctor Who. They were barely minor characters, making a whole spin-off around them, and like a character, not like an alien no one cares about, like what's the point? And then someone just posted a picture of Torchwood and they were like, recurring character from a couple episodes of Doctor Who, bringing back recast actors from Doctor Who, and aliens no one really knew about from the Whoniverse. And I was like, oh, you're so right for that.
I mean, was it ever going to be Tish and Alonso teaming up? Like,
there was a hot second where I was like, oh my God, Tish and Alonso. What the fuck? I was so confused.
I was fully downstairs in Dawson Superstore, tweeting from Wholala going, we manifested this, as they were, you know, that spiral staircase that goes down. I was on that, like sending you texts going, Tish is back. But she's not. That's a shame.
No, but she's not. But I'm excited either. I love her. I love her in the morning show. She's been in Belle. She's been in so many things, and she's a really great actress. I love her in Loki. So I actually really wanted. I don't think they're doing the Kang thing anymore because Robert Downey Jr. is now back. But I really wanted her to be like the final Kang variant. I don't know how many people here watch Loki, but that's what I wanted.
Is the whole Kang thing just parked now? Is that just done?
Oh yeah, they're not. they announced a movie about him, and then they very quickly were like, "We are not doing that."
Kang and all his variants died off screen. Okay.
Yeah. Have you watched Deadpool and Wolverine yet?
No.
What happens when we go to Brighton Pride and we just watch Deadpool?
We could just do that halfway through the day. Couldn't we? A little breather, go to an air-conditioned room, go to the Odeon by the
seafront. Do you know what? I did that in Bournemouth Pride in 2019. We did Pride morning with all the like Pride parade and all that. Then we went to go watch Spider-Man Far From Home. And then we did the Pride night out.
Why not?
It was great. It broke up the day lovely, gal.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, that could work. That would help me with feeling quite overstimulated on the beach. So, yeah.
Well, look, before we get to Brighton Pride, which I'm very, very excited for, I think it's time to dive into one of our listeners' stories.
Oh my God, story time. We've been begging for these stories, and you haven't let me read it either, so it's a real surprise.
I haven't read it either. So for anyone listening, we would love to start a segment. Again, we're looking for a name. Please help us with a name for this segment. We said Tales of the TARDIS, but we fear it's copywritten. But we would love to share listener stories across the Whoniverse. Now, we're talking embarrassing encounters with actors, fun stories from when you were a kid, or any kind of story from the Whoniverse. Anonymity is key. We will keep you anonymous, so feel free to share all the dishy details. You can email us, which is wholalapod@gmail.com. And we do have a story today.
Oh my God, tell it in your best dramatic voice.
First of all, they're already at disadvantage. They say, Dear Alasdair, Dear Sam. Now, why'd you put him first?
It should just be, hello, boys.
Hello, boys. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your wonderful podcast. It's been wonderful to listen to your thoughts every week in preparation for the new season and definitely hyped me up a lot. While I never stopped watching the show and going to conventions, I certainly wasn't as into it the past few years, and I am again now, and I credit you at least partly for that. Oh, thank you.
So where's our BBC check? So
honestly, tweet the BBC, reach out. I noticed something that you haven't talked about yet, and which gives me small hope, that Ruby's story isn't what we got in the finale. In the beginning of the church on Ruby Road, we see the Doctor arriving after midnight, stepping out of the TARDIS with tears visibly running down his cheeks. Later in the episode, we're supposed to see this exact moment, but now the Doctor arrives before midnight and he isn't crying. Now, this might just be an editing error, but I don't want to believe that. In your last podcast, you asked about some stories with Doctor Who actors. Now, this person did send us 2 stories, but we thought, you know what, maybe we'll do it later. Maybe we'll do another one. We'll save some stories. They've given us 2, and I did read the first one, but the second one, I haven't read ahead, Alasdair, but it looks very, very spicy, so I'm going to read the second one. So, they say, a few years ago, and after a lot of red wine, All great stories start this way.
Oh, no.
I ended up in a hotel room of one of the guest stars at a convention, brackets, very much consensual. Okay. That's good. Thank you for clarifying. It was someone who worked on the show for a rather long time, but I won't say more. And you know what? Fair. We wouldn't like to pry. On my walk of shame the next morning, mind you, I was terribly hungover, hadn't slept much, and was beginning to feel quite sick. The doors of the elevator opened, and in came William Russell and his wife.
Oh, no. Shut up.
They were both extremely nice, asking me how I liked the event and doing small talk with me, and the only thing I could do was think of the next bathroom. This was definitely the most memorable and horrifying experience I've had to this day. That's it. I hope you have a lovely summer. Yours, Anonymous.
Oh my God. Wait, William Russell and who?
His wife.
Oh no. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Dear listener, thank you for sending that in. Oh my goodness.
Dear listener, you came through. Oh my God, I didn't think we'd get that level of juice this soon.
Listen, we asked for the juice and you came to squeeze. I don't know who you are and I'm very happy not knowing, but thank you for messaging us that.
Oh, wow. I've gone all red and sweaty. You can't see, but you have to just, I'm like, oh my God, I found that all quite intense, the first Tales of the
That was very intense. But you know what? We're setting the bar high. Honestly, listeners, if you have any stories like this, please keep them coming. We'll keep you anonymous. We just want to know the tea, honey.
Wow.
Well, I don't really know how to follow that, but I'm going to try my best with talking about Torchwood Series 2, Episode 9, Something Borrowed.
Something Borrowed. Wow. It's an episode of television.
I actually really like this one. I think it's... So I said this because it, like, when I think of Torchwood Series 1 through to 2... a lot of episodes, I'm going to be honest, and maybe it's because I haven't watched them in a while, a lot of them are quite forgettable. It's very Monster of the Week. Most of them kind of blend into one, and this is one that always stuck out in my mind. I said about it last week. So I was like, if we're going to do a Torchwood, I really want to do this one.
No, and I had just finished watching this one as well, and it was... I'd sort of picked it as an easy watch that I knew would be total nonsense. And it really delivered on that for me. The thing is about Torchwood, it's a great show to just like, if you look for something to like eat with your tea, if you're looking for like a little something quick but truly entertaining, just pick a Torchwood at random. It always delivers.
It's funny because I kind of think of it like the Sarah Jane Adventures, it was aimed at kids, and I think it was like 22 minutes an episode. And I sometimes think of Torchwood in that ilk, and then I remember it's the same length as an episode. Doctor Who's 45 minutes long.
Yeah, so it's not like a proper length episode, but it's great for like a train ride or something. I mean, I wouldn't say choose for fun, probably series 3 and beyond, because then it starts to get a bit real. But
it's very heavy.
Series 1 and 2 is kind of like, it's not silly. It's kind of outrageous enough that it's like, oh God, what are they doing? What are they doing this time?
I mean, we'll get into it in this episode, but some of the tropes they do, especially with like the mother's first form of that like seductress, sultry, like won't you come to the bedroom? Da, da, da. I'm like, I just can't believe what quote unquote adult TV got away with in the early noughties. It's so funny to me.
It's quite a time capsule as well, isn't it? So
yeah. Well, look, this episode came out on the 5th of March. Talking about time capsules, 5th of March 2008, and it has an IMDb score of 7.7 out of 10. So it's not a bad IMDb score.
It's not a bad IMDb score, but when I took a look, this episode had quite a range of critical responses. It went from extremely positive to extremely negative. Digital Spy at the time gave it 5 out of 5, saying it was an energetic romp that oozed with body horror and was stunningly bonkers. The Stage said it's good to see Torchwood can get in touch with its lighter side and not lose any momentum. SFX magazine said the episode was one of the weakest of the second series and was hampered by limp gags and thuddingly obvious characterization. IGN gave it 5 out of 10, criticizing it as flat out bad television.
Oh my God, whatever happened to fun?
They said some of the character moments were preposterous and insipid.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ.
And then Den of Geek said the episode exaggerated and stereotyped the Welsh characters in the overall scenario, parodying them collectively as the Welshest people on television.
Do you know what? I do get that, because there was Banana, who was really a gooseberry.
Banana. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Banana.
and I do get what they mean. I get what they mean. That's funny. I didn't realize it. Well, no, actually, no. I didn't realize it was divisive as it was. I love it because it's a camp, silly, fun episode. I just thought it was quite widely hated. So it's nice to see that at least some people liked it.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of appreciation for it in a very Wholala way.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, see what you think of this recap. I think it'll make things very clear to any of you who haven't already seen this story.
Yes, well, if you haven't already seen this story, it's available on iPlayer. Go and have a watch. But if you have not, here is a recap of the episode.
In Cardiff, it's Gwen's hen night, and she's out with a handgun to track down a carnivorous alien. She manages to subdue the creature, but not before getting bitten. Captain Jack arrives just in time to finish the job, and insists Gwen has her wound examined. After a quick bandage up, Gwen heads off to her hen night with the girlies, brushing off her injury as just a scratch.
The next morning, Gwen wakes up in her flat, feeling the after effects of a late night. She smiles at her wedding dress, but her happiness quickly turns to shock when she sees her reflection. She is very heavily pregnant. Stunned, she can only mutter, "Oh," before calling Jack and Owen for help.
Owen confirms that she is indeed pregnant, courtesy of the alien bite. Jack explains that some aliens reproduce by implanting eggs into a host. Gwen asks what can be done, and Jack tries to convince her to postpone the wedding so that Owen can surgically remove the alien parasite. Gwen, however, is determined to go through the wedding despite Jack's warnings.
Toshiko is dispatched to the wedding venue to keep an eye on things, and arrives with the maternity wedding dress. She encounters Reese's best man, Banana Boat, who is as lovely as his nickname suggests. We see that a female Nostrovite, mate to the alien Gwen killed, has crashed the wedding, killing and trapping guests on her mission to get close to Gwen.
Just as Gwen and Reese are about to exchange vows, Jack rushes in, halting the ceremony. The discovery of the DJ's half-eaten body causes panic, and the Nostrovite, now disguised as Reese's mother, reveals herself. Gwen and the team chase the shape-shifting alien, but ordinary weapons prove useless.
Owen suggests using the Singularity Scalpel, a tool designed for precision alien surgery, to destroy the fetus. Since his own injuries prevent him from using it, he teaches Reese how to operate the device. The Nostrovite, still hunting Gwen, attacks again, this time disguised as Jack. Owen manages to shoot the alien, allowing Gwen and Reese to escape.
In a dramatic barn showdown, Reese successfully uses the Singularity Scalpel to remove and destroy the alien fetus. The Nostrovite, impersonating Reese's mother again, attacks. Reese defends himself with a malfunctioning chainsaw, but Jack arrives just in time, killing the alien with a massive gun.
With the alien threat finally neutralised, Gwen and Reese return to the wedding venue and get married. At the reception, the guests start to fall asleep. Jack has ensured the guests won't remember the bizarre events by administering amnesia pills. He offers the same to Gwen and Reese, but Gwen declines, determined to have no secrets in her marriage. The day ends with a dance and a big alien cleanup, proving that love can indeed conquer all, even in the weird world of Torchwood. Oh my goodness. Well, look, before we get into our thoughts, we did reach out to you on our X account. We asked what you thought of this episode, and here is what some of you had to say.
Sam Rogers said, "So camp and fun. I haven't seen this episode for a long time, but it's a good old wedding shenanigans sitcom episode with a side of murder from a shape-shifting alien."
Cordelia Chase, Stan account, and Knuckles at Strally Hoovius said, "Huge, silly episode of Buffy energy."
Listen said, possibly the best episode of Series 2. The scene where Reese's mum is mistaken for the Nostrovite is hilarious. Showed off what Torchwood can do in a story of the week format and makes me wish for a post-watershed spin-off of Doctor Who where the characters just get into scrapes.
Bad Wolf Archives, friend of the pod, said, "Camp masterpiece, need more TV like this right now."
At Dennis Gill 10 said, "I loved it. My favourite episode of Series 2. I love wedding episodes, and it showcased the relationship between Reese and Gwen. Plus, I laughed when Tosh got stuck with Banana Boat, Yanto fetched a new wedding dress, and Reese punched Jack for insulting the former's mother."
And finally, Sammy said, "The backstory feud between Gwen and Reese's mother is a classic campy Whoniverse writing. Love how the story launches straight into the alien chase. For all its funny moments, the episode is well paced, really, I think." And Toshiko taught me that bananas are vasoactive amites. You know what? Same.
So close. You rearranged a few words, but you got
there in the
essence.
end. You know what? I tried my best.
The essence of the
I
tweet.
tried my hardest.
You know what I'm impressed by? Whenever we ask, like, what do you think of the episode? People just have an opinion ready.
They do.
For an episode from like 16 years ago. If you asked me, if you came up to me just and were like, "Oh, what do you think of the episode something borrowed from Torchwood Series 2?" I'd be like, to be honest, I've not really like thought about it for 15 years. Like, I don't, but people are ready to go.
I was surprised at how insightful these were. I was fully expecting to get like 3 tweets and people would be like, yeah, I like it, it's all right. But we had some like really insightful comments. So I was very, very grateful for your thoughts. I mean, my thoughts, as you'll find out in this episode, I basically just kind of chronologically wrote like a list of the random thoughts I had during the episode as it was on. And that's kind of the vibe that I've got for today. So I'm ready to dive in.
I think it's throw an opinion at the dartboard time. I'll begin with this episode's a fever dream. And today, like, look, listen, there are life commitments around Wholala, and we were both scrambling to get this episode finished in time. So
I want it on record. I watched this yesterday. I watched it a day in advance.
All right. We were scrambling to get our notes together, and I had seen the episode before, but trying to get the rewatch done, I watched the second half of this one in 2 times speed, which you can do on iPlayer, and it made me scream once again. It is bananas.
I mean, it's already fast paced.
Exactly, not just the speed, but like when you realize what plot points are being hit, it's quite a journey.
It is quite a journey. Well, look, I feel like we'll probably go through this one. It's just going to be a bit of a silly chat episode. I think we'll go through it fairly chronologically. It's not really broken up into like highs and lows and whatever. It's just very much like our thoughts as we go. I do love, it really drops you in on the action. It's a very like cold open, and it's quite fun getting that jump between like Gwen's normal life and then her Torchwood life.
Oh yeah.
Her and her mates, she's at a hen do, she's having fun, she's having a bit of a party, and then her like fully gunning down this alien.
Yeah, I mean, extremely iconic to cut between chase scene and then Cardiff night out to Scissor Sisters.
Yes.
Like no other show really can quite do that. Or at least not with a handgun. And that, in that respect, Torchwood is so messy.
It is.
Like over the little like, what is it? Over the like earpiece, it's like, careful, Gwen, this thing eats people. And then off she goes into a public toilets by herself with a handgun.
I know.
Like, and she's always just like in a jeans and jacket. Get up.
I know. I thought it was so funny because she really gets the gun out on the street and then starts to slowly walk down these stairs. And I'm like, none of these passerbys are looking at her twice. They're just like, oh, all right, well,
don't care.
I guess after Boomtown, it's all fair's game in Cardiff.
It's what it is. They hear 4 gunshots come out of the toilets, and they're like, it's all right.
It'll be fine. It's Torchwood. I love when Gwen's like, oh, it's just a scratch, and I was like, 'tis only a flesh wound that has impregnated your arm, my darling.
They really don't like mess around, do they? Like teasing you with what's going on. They were like, it is what it is. It's a bite. They were like, she's like, oh, I'm so hot, so hot. And they're like, what's happened to your arm? Oh, it's just a scratch. And it's like this bleeding bandage she's got around her arm in the club, which is of no alarm to anyone.
They just kind of look at it, and all her friends, who I love, as far as I'm aware, I haven't rewatched Torchwood properly in a while. We don't know who any of these people are. This is the first time we see it. And they're just there like, no, all right, darling, all right. Like, they just kind of carry on with their day while literally the entire forearm is bleeding out. And I'm just like, you know what? You go, girls. You get your drink
They're
on.
busy. They're just like, and she'll take it up the aisle. Yeah.
There's a bit later in the episode where they talk about like, well, we must have had a bit of drink last night. I didn't realise how far gone I was. And I was like, I just love the idea that they've turned up this girl's hen do, absolutely blasted because like Gwen's late to her own hen party.
Yeah.
And they're like absolute shit-faced.
She's like, what camouflage dress? Like, she didn't look pregnant.
Oh my god. She was wearing a t-shirt.
She was. We should have done a warning about the Welsh accents or the attempts at them in this episode. I'm
really
sorry,
sorry everyone.
I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Yeah, I mean, on the body horror point, which is one of the positives of this episode that gets referred to, waking up with a baby bump, but also knowing that that's not a baby inside you, it looks like an alien egg on the scanner, and that this alien wants to rip you open to get to it, is actually a very horrifying idea.
You could take the premise for this episode, keep it exactly the same. Night before your wedding, you wake up pregnant, you don't know what it is, you go to the wedding, and then you find out that the mother of the alien inside you is trying to rip you open. Like, and it's a shapeshifter. Like, on paper, this episode has all of the makings to be such a good horror, but I quite like the deliberacy of making this funny and like silly and camp. I think that was definitely the right way to play this, especially in the midst of like a Torchwood season when you get like some really heavy topics in there. I think this is the way you do it.
Yeah. later Torchwood would have allowed her to be pregnant for the entire series, only to find out it's not her baby.
And there'd be like a real subplot of her like loving the baby, and she's like, "It's my child," and all that. Whereas in this, she's just like, "Get it out of me, Reese."
That's the funny thing that I think wound me up a bit on first watch. Was the whole, like, don't you get it, Reese? I want to marry you no matter what. Like, if there's weevils coming out of the sewers, I don't care. Like, I want to marry you. I don't want to delay it, even if the world is ending. Which on some level is quite sweet. On another level, I'm like, you need to get this out. Because it grew like that overnight. Like, this may well pop out of you in the middle of the aisle.
Yeah, like now's not the time, honey. I mean, like, listen, I love Reese as well. Reese is great. I love when she rings him and he's like, "Oh, hello, lovely," when he's like half drunk and hungover. It's so funny. These little real world moments like that, by the way, like when she sat there like eating the pickles out the jar while the whole scene's going on. Like these little real world moments are so good. But yeah, no, girlie, now's not the time to get married. You gotta get rid of that alien in your tummy.
And also, like, ridiculous though the refusal is, Eve Miles acts her socks off. She's like, "This is the script I have, and I'm going to squeeze every bit of emotion I can find in the source material out of it."
She is wild. Like, the scene, jumping ahead a bit, the scene where she, like, her mum leaves the room and she's stood there crying, like, in the mirror looking at this baby, and then her dad comes behind her and he's like, "Oh, well, darling," and she like puts it all away and tries to put on it. I'm like, Eve Miles, you really did take this crappy script and you really went for it.
And you went for it. Like, she held nothing back. She's wonderful. I really hope, like, again, clown hours, but like with, you know, War Between the Land and the Sea, I would love there still to be a surprise casting to come of Eve Miles. Remember a while ago, there was a kind of public falling out between John Barrowman and Eve Miles, and I think it was over a misunderstanding. And it
was very like one-sided. He was just like, "I hate you," and she was like, "Oh."
I think the misunderstanding was like speculated to be that he had interpreted that they were doing a Torchwood reboot without him, and that she was able to reassure him that wasn't true and that they are good friends.
Do you know what it was? She came back to do, I think, a trilogy of Big Finish or something.
Right.
And that rumour extrapolated to thinking they were doing a Torchwood revival series. And she got asked on a panel, they're like, "Are you coming back to Torchwood?" And she was like, "Oh, I can't say. Oh." And I think that was in lieu to the Big Finish series.
I see.
And, you know, actors come back for Big Finish all the time. I mean, Yanto's had his own Big Finish. Yvonne Hartman's had her own Big Finish. Like everyone's come back for Big Finish. And I know that John Barrowman was very heavily involved with that. But yeah, that was quite odd to sort of spectate from afar.
If we could now just maybe extrapolate a little further, perhaps she's also been in some kind of conversation about being in another spin-off would be so great. But I don't know if that was relevant to that or not. But I'd love that to be true.
I don't know. Well, look, speaking of Yanto, I love the scene. Because I feel like series 1, there were like hints that like maybe he's like queer. Maybe, like, you know, we saw his girlfriend. Then there was that little like mouth scene with Jack and him in Cyberwoman and all that. But series 2 is the scene where he's like, Series 2 is the series where he really like leans into his relationship with Jack and like figuring out what it is and figuring out his queerness. And I love the scene where he goes to buy the wedding dress because, you know, I checked her size on the scanners, like I could figure out the dress size from that. And he tells the guy in the shop, he's like, "Oh, I'm picking this out for a friend." And the guy's like, "Don't worry, we have a lot of men buying dresses for their friends." And I was like, "Oh, you catty bitch, you catty
bitch." And he said his dad was a master tailor, which very much gave me like Keir Starmer being like, "My dad was a toolmaker. My mother was a master tailor. He could measure a man's inline. By the stride, he walked across the shop floor."
There you go. Speaking about Welsh accents, I have a note here. It just says, "Lovely Welsh accents." And it's the quote from Gwen. And it's when I think Jack's saying about like, you have to cancel the wedding. And she's like, "I'm not going to." And he's like, "Look, the wedding doesn't matter." And she goes, "It matters to me."
Oh my God. That's the one I had down too. I've also written it in caps, but the way I spelt it was "it matters to" and then MOEEEEE.
I spelt matters MATTAS.
It matters to me. It
had a real like belly to it.
It did. It was wonderful. Again, those acting chops.
She really does play with them.
Jack really didn't need to send her out alien hunting on the night before her wedding, did he? He could have done it
It's
himself.
my job.
Why is it your job? Tosh is capable in the field. Send her out.
Yeah, I feel like Tosh in this series. I mean, I need to rewatch this. Okay, well, I have a note. I had this note for later, but I'm going to say it now. I think Tosh in this episode she really has two sides of the coin done really well. She's a fucking badass. Like the scene later with Banana when she's like, bananas make me vomit, and like she gets the gun on him and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
In the same breath, she knows exactly what Gwen needs in the moment. Like when Gwen's on her knees, like crying, and like she kind of wants to be left alone. When they tell her like, oh, Tosh is coming, she's like, I don't fucking need a babysitter. But then when Tosh is there, she like sits there, she listens to Gwen, she agrees with her, and she doesn't like comment anymore. And then she says to Gwen, I'm gonna leave you alone. Like I'm gonna give you a space, and that's exactly what Gwen needs in the moment. So she's so like self-assured, she knows what she's doing. But then on the same side, she's so insecure. Like her relationship with Owen, it's really, really cute and very endearing, but she's so like scared schoolgirl at times, especially when it comes to Owen. I do get that's very much like the Tosh Owen love story.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting seeing those three different sides of Tosh.
You're so right. Tosh has like a real like shyness, I think, around the team. She almost like really wants to like prove herself to them still, I think. But then around Joe Public, she has absolutely no issue putting him down and quite literally grabbing him by the balls and saying, next time you'll sing in a falsetto.
Oh my god. Banana, more like a gooseberry.
But it was quite sweet, I think. Yeah, Tosh delivering the dress, you know, her like saying, I think it's wonderful you're getting married, whatever. And then that little interaction where it's like, you know, Tosh, it'll happen for you one day. I thought it's quite a nice little moment between the two characters, really, and having, I don't know.
You don't really get much Gwen on Tosh, I feel like, in this.
You know what? Gwen on Tosh, I'm amazed that wasn't something that Torchwood did more of.
Yeah, no, exactly.
In the context of 2010s. Well, not even that.
This is 2008.
Indeed.
There's a really fun little Easter egg in the scene when Owen and Tosh are having their talk about whether or not they're going to go to the wedding. They're in the morgue and there's all these x-rays around them, and there's an x-ray of the Cyberman behind them. I don't think it's the Cyberwoman. I think it's a Cyberman, which obviously they would have gotten from Torchwood 1, and I just thought that was like a fun little piece of set dressing.
Their team structure is ridiculous, isn't it? That there's 5 of them who are solely responsible for like pretty much every crisis in the UK on their own, and they're all quite world-ending crises.
Except for Ealing. Sarah Jane's got Ealing sorted.
Sarah Jane's covered Ealing. They've covered Cardiff, and I think like most of the southwest, and that's it. Apart from that, apparently there's a guy in Scotland though, isn't there? There's a guy called Ernie or something in Torchwood 5 or something. There's another one.
Yeah, I like the idea that there's different like universe-saving groups or Earth-saving groups that we don't even know about. Like, you know, we have Linda, we've got Torchwood, we've got la. Like, I like the idea that there's people out there that we don't even know, that maybe have some connection to the Doctor that just we as the audience don't know yet.
So we need to talk about the relationship between the mums in this episode.
Oh my god.
It was really fabulous fun. Can you remember the names? We had Mary and Brenda. That was it, wasn't it? I think they actually could have gone better with the reads. I enjoy this dynamic so much, but I just thought they could have really dragged each other well. They could have made that. I think they could have squeezed a bit more comedy out of that beyond the like, oh, your suit green.
Do you know one bit that I love? I had this line written down. It's when Reese's mum says like, oh well, I wasn't late for my wedding, and then Gwen's mum goes, no, Barry might have gotten away.
Oh, that was good. That was really good.
That was really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love it. I think that Reese's mum, in my head, whenever I think of a mother-in-law at a wedding, that is exactly what I think of.
It is exactly it, isn't it?
It's exactly it.
I like how Mary, Gwen's mum, receives the information about, you know, the shock pregnancy, and then she's like a bit delighted because she's like, oh, wonderful, wait until Brenda finds out.
Yeah, exactly. I like that she knows that she found out first.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, oh, just wait until then. Also, thinking about Gwen's parents, in this they've got like quite a light sort of side part to the story. You know, in the end they forget all about it. When they do find out about the aliens and they see the evidence, it doesn't distance them from Gwen. They kind of accept it and they go, oh my god, it was true. But then we come on to
Children of Earth. No, not Children of Earth, sorry, Miracle Day. Yeah,
Miracle Day. Oh my god, Gwen's dad has a heart attack, I think, and
he was meant to die
but can't die, and so they are hiding him in the walls of their house so that the government can't find him, otherwise they'll incinerate him. There's no comedy in it at that point. It's purely like, it's bleak, it's dark, it's really hard to watch that series, and it's not that much later than this. So insane how their journey it's almost so different that it feels, like you said, like it's almost not the same show. I honestly think it's quite optional as to whether or not you actually read Miracle Day as a true part of the story, if it's canon.
I do think it's canon. I think that it's weird because Torchwood series 1 and 2 are very much like sequels of each other, like series of the same show. And then Children of Earth feels almost like an ending to Torchwood series 1 and 2. Like, it feels very much the same tone, the cinematography is quite similar, like you're in the same places, you're in the hub, but all of that gets destroyed. And it feels like Torchwood series 1, 2 and 3 are kind of like a unit. And then Miracle Day is this like completely different, filmed differently in a different location with a different cast. Gwen has a different haircut. Like, it is vastly different.
It's the US version where Stars came along and injected their cash, and they sort of filmed it all stateside, and it feels really different.
Yeah, even the stuff that's filmed in Wales, like, films incredibly different.
It looks so different. It is.
I would love to cover Miracle Day at some point on Wholala.
I don't know if I can face it.
I want to talk. Like, I'll do a solo episode at some point. I would love to do. I don't feel like it deserves like an entire, like, let's do a whole season of Wholala with every episode like that. But just to talk about it, because like there's so many elements of the Whoniverse that are canon. Because the photo of the Whoniverse image when you go on iPlayer of like the 15th Doctor and Gwen and Martha and Sarah Jane, all that. The picture of Gwen is from Miracle Day on that graphic. Yeah, it's mad. It's just mad to think about, like, that happens in the same universe as, like, The Devil's Cord.
Yeah. I think, does Miracle Day run parallel with Series 6? So while he's doing dun 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 dun, everyone's being burnt in furnaces.
Yeah, I think it was 2000. It's not even from Miracle Day. I love in Children of Earth, in the finale of that, Gwen has a little camcorder. I know we're getting very off topic here, but Gwen has the camcorder and she goes, I always wondered why the Doctor would sometimes not come to Earth when we needed him, why he wouldn't come. And I think it's because there must be times he looks on this world in shame.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ! Yeah. Like, it's mad to think that happened at the same time that the 11th Doctor, like, went on the Sarah Jane adventures, and they had the big talking birds.
I've decided this. Miracle Day started the day after the end of The Lodger. So one of the first victims was, in fact, Craig from The Lodger. In ways that are unspeakable.
There you go. Well, you heard it first in Wholala. That's mad. I wonder if, because also I think that Rusty Davies was still involved in Torchwood at that time while Moffat was doing Doctor Who. I wonder if they ever spoke to each other.
He wrote Miracle Day.
Russell wrote Miracle Day?
Russell wrote Miracle Day.
Whoa, I did not. I knew that he was the showrunner for it, but I did not think he wrote Miracle Day.
No, let me double check this fact right now live.
Go on, let's look it up.
Fact check. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Fact check.
You redacting.
He wrote episode 1.
Okay.
And he wrote the final episode called The Bloodline.
Oh, but he still wrote on it.
He co-wrote the final episode.
He still wrote on it.
Yes, so he did write on it. So in that sense, it's a very much a project that he was very close to, and he shaped, the story and the thread and everything that happens within it. He absolutely oversaw that.
I do like, even after Russell stopped being showrunner, how involved he was. Like, I've listened to, and this is something I'd love to talk more about. I really want to lean more into Big Finish at some point. I'd love to do Wholala on that. And I listened to the first Dimension Canon series with Rose, and it came off the back of Russell's original idea for a Rose Tyler spin-off, where they were trying to do a Big Finish on this unmade Rose Tyler spin-off, and that idea didn't really go well. And then Russell was like, oh, well, why don't you do the story of her trying to find the Doctor through the Dimension Canon? And then that was what they built upon. So I love that even when he wasn't on the show, because people are like, I know he did the show and then he came back for this era, I like that he never really left the show. He like dabbled in it the whole time.
He said he was cooking ideas all along. He was busy thinking about Sutekh.
Listen. Well, look, much as he's busy thinking about Sutekh, we're busy talking about the Nostrobites.
The Nostrobites. I like when the bridesmaids come into the hotel and they go,
I love the bridesmaids!
They go, this is nice, isn't it, Trina? It's class on toast.
It's so this is the thing that I was saying about like little bits of this being really real world. Love the bridesmaids. I love that little chat where they're talking about how wasted they must have been to not notice that Gwen was pregnant. Also I have to say this: the wedding dress that Yanto got for Gwen was ugly. She like looks and she's like, "Oh, Tosh is beautiful," and then she puts it on. I'm like, this is like a piece of fabric wrapped around your boobs and then a tube dress. It's such an ugly wedding dress, and I'm like, you can't convince me that this is nice.
She's a Welsh person wrapped in an enigma, wrapped in a wedding dress that's just a bit too tight.
If I had a nickel for every single time a character in a Doctor Who spin-off got married in this venue within their own spin-off show, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but weird that it's happened twice.
But it's weird, isn't it? Huh?
I know.
I also quite like the death of Mervyn. He was quite a creep. I reckon I'm up for a bit of a Mervyn sandwich later. I enjoyed his death.
I'm glad that he died. I did write a note about how this is very emblematic for like the negative side of Torchwood, and very much how I feel like Children of Earth and Miracle Day I like so much more because it realised that the way that you write adult Doctor Who is that you write stories you could never do on a family show, like scary stories or political stories or harrowing stories or stories that really hold the mirror up to society. Whereas for Torchwood Series 1 and 2, it was just like sex on a stick, and he's like rubbing his hands together. He's like, "Oh, a lookalike you shouldn't be sat alone at the bar." And like, also, when the alien Nostrovite takes him back to the bedroom, she is sucking him off. Like, I thought she was like immediately gonna go from like, no, she sucks him off for like a good 5 minutes and then bites his dick off and eats him. I'm like, why are you sucking this guy? Like, ugh, like. Yeah.
Oh my god. No, I like, listen, I agree. I think that's kind of how they decided to approach Torchwood. You're right, for a lot of this was, I mean, in some cases they have done stories, right, that are like just stories you couldn't tell.
The countryside one was an exception to this rule.
I thought countryside right there, exactly that. But a lot of the time I think they do just inject like sleaze into it, and they do like sleazy characters, and they're like, that'll do.
Yeah.
And like very dislikable characters who are like that as well.
Yeah. There's one episode of Torchwood I vaguely remember, and it's Nessa from Gavin and Stacey, the actress that plays her, and it's about her son going missing, and he fell into like a time rift, and then she like finds him again like 6 months, a year later, but he's like a very, very like mentally disturbed because he's like lived in the rift adult, and she finds him in like an asylum. Like, that is another episode where it's just like harrowing in like the right ways, right?
He spends like 20 hours a day screaming or something as well. That's why he lives on an island on his own, is because he just screams most of the time. Oh, it was awful. The cheesy dialogue, though, that always like balances this episode, I think, before it can ever get too dark, where the Nostrovite is like, "Actually, do you fancy getting a bite?" And the way that when they burst in on her as well, having like ripped off this man's willy and dismembered him on the floor, she sat on the bed doing her lippy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
why?
But I quite like the Nostrovite in this. You have the balance of like silly camp. I think the makeup's quite creepy. I like that, like a one and done monster. But I quite like the scene. So at this point in the series, Owen has died and come back to life. This is something I want to do in Wholala as well. I think there's 2 Martha episodes in this series of Torchwood, and I really want to do those at some point. But in this series, Owen dies and is brought back to life, but he's kind of like living in a constant death. He's dead, but like a walking dead, and he kind of doesn't want to be alive anymore. He's not enjoying his own existence. And the Nostrovite, when it looks like Jack, like goes up to kill him. And Owen immediately, he just stands there and he goes, "Do me a favor." And like, he wants the Nostrovite to kill him, but it kind of smells him. And I kind of read this as like, realizing something's like wrong with him. This isn't a being that should be here, something deeper like that. But then when it runs away, Owen turns around and it thought I was off. And I was like, oh, that's so gross. Like, obviously, like, normal humans might not be able to smell it, but this alien can tell that you're a corpse, and it doesn't want to eat you. And like, I thought that was like both creepy and sad.
That is actually really rough, isn't it? That is rough on so many levels. He's like, I'd like to die, but it won't eat me because I smell off. Yeah.
Bless.
I liked a moment with Gwen and her dad where he thinks that she's had a total breakdown. You know, I love a breakdown. I've said it before.
Love a breakdown.
Where she's like, other planets, other dimensions, aliens. Dad, I'm talking about aliens. That's what I do. Torchwood. We're called Torchwood. We hunt down aliens that come through the rift. And he goes downstairs. He's like, poor girl. This wedding's got her stressed to pieces. Thinks that baby of hers an alien from space.
He really, like, I love how supportive he is while completely thinking she's just absolutely lost. It's like, oh, it's just the wedding jitters. Like, it's so. Also, I do apologize again for all these awful Welsh accents.
Sorry.
But you know what I love that Reese has stayed with her, and I love her commitment to Reese in this, and I love Reese's character. I love that Reese kind of keeps Jack in his place and is like willing to snap back at Reese, because there is this like weird, like, especially out of context because I've not watched it in a while, like sexual kind of love tension between Jack and Gwen, which I don't remember being there at all in like series 3 and 4, which I've rewatched more recently. But I love her commitment to Reese, where at this point she's aware that she's like, I have not treated this man well. He should have within his right mind left me, but he has stuck with me the whole time. Much as I agree with you, it's so stupid for her to commit to trying to stay married that day. I do love that she's like, this is kind of like my act of unity for Reese. Yes. I'm doing this because I want to show that I am choosing him.
Yes, I like that as well. You're right, that I was also a little bit caught off guard by the level of romantic tension between Jack and Gwen. There's definitely always been like a love there, but I think it felt like, maybe I'm just remembering more recent series where they've really parked that beyond this point that they've been married, and this was maybe like a last hurrah for that love story tension.
Yeah.
And she'd also cheated on him, hadn't she, a few times with Owen?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Did she sleep with Owen? I feel like she did.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Oh shit. She really did. Yeah. She really did treat Reese bad. Hello, lovely.
Another line delivery, if I may pivot again.
Go for it.
Owen's line. They've done a runner. Listen, I emptied a clip into that thing, as did Gwen, but some mother instinct or something made that cow unstoppable. Our guns don't work.
Owen has so many great lines in this. That like classic, I'm sorry, did you say camp?
I'm sorry, did you say camp?
There's so many great Owen lines in this. It's really, really good. I love, they all get some zingers in this. I love when Tosh is like, bananas make me vomit. Like, it's so good.
The one person who does not get a zinger, who gets such a bad line, is the not real Brenda going, Reese, you're a bad boy, and you know what bad boys get? And then she gets exploded with a big gun. And then Jack goes, how's that for a shapeshift?
Oh, God.
And it's like, what? What do you mean?
It's so bad.
It's almost like a moment where and then he goes, huh, to himself. And it's like, no, that wasn't good.
It's. I thought you were going to say the bit when he goes up to Reese, who I forgot uses the singularity scalpel. Like, I thought it was quite fun as well, bringing back the singularity scalpel from another episode. But I remembered most of the plot of this episode and then got to that bit and I was like, oh shit, Reese uses the scalpel. But he goes up to Reese and he's like, love the Evil Dead look on you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that line was better. He brought it back. He brought it back
at the end, yeah. And then like Gwen jumped back to like tension. Like Gwen then jumps on Jack, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. Like, I don't know.
They did a good job, I think, of making Jack generally, I think, in this series, quite an interesting character. They do an interesting exploration of his backstory, the years that we missed, all the time he spent on Earth, because we obviously know him
from... The little photo at the end.
Yeah, and I think they always pepper that in quite well, I think, through Torchwood. You know, the idea of he's had, you know, at this point, so many lives. Of course, he comes almost with the baggage of, while we're on series 2 of Torchwood, Jack is sort of on series 59, so he's got like 100 different back villains and other relationships and subplots kind of with him, but I think you feel that quite convincingly with him, for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that I think you kind of get this peppered. There's that episode Adam where it talks about his brother at the time agency. And I know you get kind of like pepperings throughout all of series 1 and 2, but I quite like that in series 3, we learn a lot about his daughter. And then in series 4, we learn a lot about his past lover, who then like comes back in the Miracle Day. And I do forget how, I think he was dropped off he moved from like the year 5 billion to the 1800s. And then he was part of the inception of Torchwood. And like you said, he's lived like 200 years at this point, basically. And I think that they do a good job he has moments throughout the whole of this show where someone's kind of like, oh, you're so unrelatable, you just don't get it. And he's like, yeah, I am unrelatable. Like, I do not relate to the situation because I have lived a million lives by this point. One tiny little thing just before we move on to the next section of the episode. The next time for this, I didn't realise Julian Bleach was also on Torchwood.
Oh.
So I was like, he's in the Sarah Jane Adventures in The Nightmare Man. Obviously, he plays Davros. And then I played the next time and I immediately recognised his voice. And then they show him he's like one of the guys in the horror movie or the black and white movie they're watching that comes to life. And I was like, Julian Bleach really was in every single spin-off.
Good spot. Well done. That's immediate.
That.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this all ended with everyone getting drugged, so that was nice.
Yeah, what was it? Retcon, wasn't it called Retcon?
Retconned, which is a funny name for it. I love they call it a retcon.
Yeah, it's very like Men in Blacky, I think.
But they're all very... It's just so like, yeah, Prosecco and bad mix. And it's like, you can't... Jack, like someone...
You silly, you did it again.
Someone here will have had too much, and now they don't know who they are. Like, someone's fully forgotten their actual address and name and partner because they drank too much of your retcon.
It's probably Banana.
Probably poor Banana, yeah. Also, the guy who died, how did they expect... Okay, he went missing, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. Well, look, what did you think of this episode, Alasdair?
I don't really know what I thought of this episode, actually. I think it was pretty chaotic. As with like pretty much all episodes from the series, I think they're just so much fun to watch. Like, I'm almost not interested in the objective, was it good or bad, of Torchwood at this time. I just like it for what it is. And it's good telly in the purest form, in that I find it extremely entertaining.
Yeah. I also feel like you said a big lot of nothing.
I did.
You're like, it was an episode of TV that we watched with our...
Yeah.
No, I get what you mean, though. It's kind of like, I don't really have anything like... Do you know? Okay, no. I came away from it liking it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was silly. I thought it was camp. I thought it had like some actual like gratuitous horror and some sweet moments in the characters. Is it the best piece of television in the world? Absolutely not. But it is also mid to late noughties Torchwood, so I wouldn't expect that of this. I also didn't realise that, because Torchwood Series 1, I think, was 2006. This was 2008, so there were 2 years in between the 2 seasons. And it's all about that gap between when Jack went to Utopia and then came back.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was quite a bit after the first series. But no, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was silly. And I'm glad to hear that the listeners also had a good time.
He's quite needlessly evasive about that point. There's a lot of, like, where did you go, Jack? And he could just be like...
He's like... away.
He could just be like, I met the doctor, actually, the one I've been looking for, and one thing led to another, and there was a whole year of your lives that you don't remember, but I do, and it's undone now, and I'm feeling a bit bad about it.
Trauma. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, look, maybe we'll highlight that at some point in this season. Maybe we'll revisit the end of Series 3 of Doctor Who. But before then, I've got a little game for you.
Go on.
It's a little game of camp or damp. Now, for anyone who has not listened to episode Wholala before, or maybe you have, Camp or Damp is a little game we like to play where we look at moments in the episode we just watched and say whether they were camp or whether they were damp. Alice, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Literal alien baby daddies, camp or damp?
Literal alien baby daddies, not camp, quite revolting, quite disgusting. Insemination through a bite just absolutely revulses me. I hate it.
That must mean like the embryotic sac is like in their mouth.
Vile, hate it.
The mother-in-law feud, camp or damp?
It's very camp, but it could be so much more camp. It's so I think the campest element of it is the reveal. I think that the mother-in-law is an evil carnivore alien, is great, and a shapeshifter.
Yeah,
and Reese sort of hacking at her with a chainsaw. But
yeah,
yes, it's camp. It has so much more room to be camper.
I think it's the good start of camp, and it will get to camper. And number 3, Tosh versus Banana, camp or damp?
Tosh versus Banana, really camp. She did a great job. She ate him up right before he got eaten up.
He nearly did. His friend got eaten up.
Oh, no, nearly did, sorry. His best friend did.
His best friend got eaten up. He nearly did get eaten up. He was wrapped in a sort of black, gooey venom cocoon right next to the corpse of his DJ friend. And then he got called Gooseberry.
An enigma wrapped in goo, wrapped in a skirt that's just a bit too tight.
Oh, goodness me. Well, look, before we move on from this, I've got a couple fun facts for you. Not too many, just a couple. This episode, apparently, more so than the other ones in the season, was specifically designed to be more comical than the rest of the season. I think that's because it was quite a heavy series. And like, you know what, we're just having a silly one here. We're having a silly one, and I'm glad they did.
It's a silly one.
Yeah. Even though she'd admitted that she hates them, it was actually Eve Miles' idea for Gwen to eat a bunch of gherkins at the beginning of the episode, relating to the cliche that pregnant women always crave pickles. I wonder why that is. I hear that a lot, but I don't know if that's just a movie thing.
Cravings are very much real. But a craving for what exactly?
It's always pickles. Pickles and ice cream. It's always the one in movies.
Yeah, because you see, this is it. You see the pickle eating, you know what that is. You don't think that's a breakfast, do you? You know that's a craving right away. Yeah. I love an ad lib. Is that what I mean, an ad lib? Yeah, I like an on-set suggestion. Always works well.
Me too. And finally, and what's fun about this is this has actually been a fun fact on Wholala before, when we did our Boomtown episode. William Thomas, who plays Gwen's father, Geraint, is the only actor to have appeared in Torchwood, Classic Who, and New Who, where he featured in Remembrance of the Daleks with Sylvester McCoy and Boomtown with Christopher Eccleston.
And he's been in Gavin and Stacey as Father Chris, the one who does the wedding.
Oh, there you go. All around Naughty's TV. Yeah. Good for him. Well, thank you so much for this fun little romp in the Torchwood universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know on all of our social media platforms. We're everywhere at Wholala Pod. That is Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. We're also on YouTube, where you can rewatch old episodes of the podcast. And please, as we said, we want to hear your stories from across the universe. The dishier, the better. You can email them us at wholalapod@gmail.com.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can rate us 5 stars. You can follow the pod wherever you listen. You can find our coffee, ko-fi, to support us there and buy us a coffee. And you can share the pod with someone who you think might enjoy it. And even better, you can just come back next week and listen again.
Exactly. Now, next week, we're going to keep it a little bit of a surprise, but we're going to look back on our favourite Billie Piper episode. And I'm very, very excited for you to see what we think.
We'll say no more. We'll say no more.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you then.
See you next week.
Bye!